Imagine waking up every day trapped inside a life you can't escape, your identity shattered, your voice silenced, your dignity buried under the weight of shame and torment. Before you scroll away, ask yourself this. What if the most misunderstood woman in history carried a truth capable of transforming your own life? Stay until the end, because what you are about to discover about Mary Magdalene is something most people have never heard, and if you leave now, you'll miss the moment that changed the world forever. The story begins in the fishing town of Magdala, where salt from the sea mixed with dust in the narrow streets and rumors traveled faster than the wind. Mary walked alone through the marketplace, head lowered, avoiding every stare. Children whispered. Merchants turned away. Mothers pulled their sons closer. She wasn't always like this. Her life had once held promise, laughter, community. But then the shadows came. Not the shadows of the night, but the shadows within darkness that twisted her thoughts, crushed her spirit, and stripped her of peace. People didn't understand what tormented her. They only judged her. Some said she was cursed, others said she was insane. Most believed she was possessed by 7 demons, 7 invisible chains gripping her soul, suffocating her hope. In a world where suffering was seen as punishment, people avoided her like a plague. Her family had stopped trying to help. The neighbors stopped saying her name. The community stopped believing she could ever be restored. Mary lived in a silent prison, watching her life slip further away with every passing day. But even when humans give up on you, heaven still moves. One afternoon, the town buzzed with excitement. A healer, a teacher, a miracle worker from Nazareth had arrived nearby. People spoke his name with awe. Jesus, a man who touched lepers without fear. A man who restored sight to the blind, who cast out demons with a word, who called children close when others pushed them away. A man who saw the invisible. Mary didn't know what she was looking for when she followed the crowd, but something deep within her pulled her toward him. Maybe desperation. Maybe faith. Maybe both. As she approached, she heard his voice, gentle yet powerful, compassionate yet commanding. It was unlike anything she had ever heard. It didn't accuse her, didn't condemn her. It spoke to the deepest wounds inside her. Jesus turned toward her, and the crowd watched in silent anticipation. They expected him to recoil, to rebuke her, to push her away like everyone else. But he didn't. Instead, his eyes met hers with a depth she had never seen, eyes that understood her pain, eyes that saw the person hidden beneath the suffering. Mary trembled, unable to speak. And then it happened. Jesus raised his hand slowly, as if inviting her into freedom. His voice carried authority that even the darkness within her recognized. He spoke a command, not shouted but steady, and the 7 chains that had held her captive burst apart. 7 demons fled like smoke in the wind. The silence was overwhelming. Mary collapsed to the ground, but for the first time in years her mind was clear, her body still, her heart free. She looked up at Jesus with tears streaming down her face, unable to find words. But she didn't need to. He smiled at her not with pity, but with dignity. He lifted her up, restoring not only her sanity, but her identity. From that moment on, Mary Magdalene became something extraordinary, a witness of transformation, a living miracle, a follower of Jesus in the deepest sense of the word. She didn't go back to her old life in Magdala. She chose a new path, a path that few women in her time dared to walk. Mary joined the group of women who supported Jesus' ministry, women like Joanna and Susanna. They funded the mission, cared for the disciples, organized the crowds, and protected Jesus when danger grew. History often forgets them, but they were pillars of strength in a movement that changed the world. And Mary was one of the strongest. She traveled from town to town, village to village, hearing every teaching Jesus shared. She watched as he healed the sick, restored the broken, fed thousands, and forgave sinners that society had thrown away. She saw the way he treated women with respect, dignity, and purpose, something rare in her world. She learned that greatness wasn't about status but service. That leadership wasn't domination but compassion. As Jesus' fame grew, so did the danger. Religious leaders felt threatened. Roman authorities grew suspicious. Whispers of betrayal filled the air. And then came the night that changed everything. Jesus was arrested under the cover of darkness. Soldiers dragged him away. Panic spread among his followers. Many ran, many hid. Fear swallowed their courage. But not Mary. She stayed close, moving through the shadows with a courage that burned brighter than fear. She followed Jesus through the streets of Jerusalem as he was beaten, mocked, and humiliated. She watched him stumble under the weight of the cross. She heard the crack of the whip, the shouts of the soldiers, the cries of women around her. She stood at the foot of the cross when others stayed far away. The sky darkened. The earth trembled. Mary's tears fell like rain as she saw the one who had healed her now suffering beyond anything she could imagine. When Jesus breathed his final breath, hope seemed to die with him. But even then, Mary refused to abandon him. When his body was taken down, she followed Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus as they wrapped him in linen and placed him in the tomb. She memorized the path, refusing to forget the place where her Savior rested. That night she didn't sleep. Her heart was heavy, her thoughts racing, her spirit longing for the one who had given her life meaning. Before sunrise, while the world was still dark, Mary rose and made her way to the tomb. The path was cold, the morning silent, her steps slow but determined. When she arrived, her heart dropped. The stone was rolled away. The entrance open. Panic surged through her chest. She ran to tell Peter and John. They sprinted to the tomb, found it empty, and left in confusion. But not Mary. She stayed. Because love stays. Loyalty stays. Gratitude stays. She stood outside the tomb, crying. The emptiness echoed through her soul. She bent down to look inside again, and to her astonishment, 2 angels sat where Jesus' body had been. "Woman, why are you crying?" they asked. Mary's voice shook as she replied, "They have taken my Lord, and I don't know where he is." She turned around and saw a man standing behind her. Her eyes, clouded with tears and grief, didn't recognize him. "Woman," he asked gently, "why are you crying?" "Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the gardener. "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where he is. I will go to him." Then everything changed in a single moment. The man spoke one word. "Mary." Her heart recognized the voice instantly. She gasped. She turned fully toward him, and there he was, Jesus. Alive, not a memory, not a vision, not a ghost, but risen, glorified, standing before her with compassion in his eyes and victory in his presence. She fell at his feet, overwhelmed with joy and awe. Jesus, with a gentle firmness, told her not to hold on to him, for his work was not yet finished. But he gave her a mission, a calling of historic importance. "Go and tell my brothers." In that moment, Mary Magdalene became the first witness of the resurrection, the first person to hear his voice after the grave, the first messenger of the greatest truth ever revealed on earth. While kings sat on thrones, scholars wrote scrolls, and soldiers marched in power, God chose her, a woman once broken, to be the herald of divine victory. She ran to the disciples, breathless with the weight of her message. "I have seen the Lord," she proclaimed. But some doubted. Others questioned her credibility. In her society, a woman's testimony held little value. But truth needs no permission to be true. God had chosen her for a reason. Mary's story doesn't just reveal who she was, it reveals who God is. He sees beyond labels, beyond mistakes, beyond scars, beyond the opinions of others. He saw in Mary not a broken woman, but a vessel of purpose, courage, and destiny. A story that would echo across centuries. Her life proves that your past does not disqualify your future. It proves that chains, no matter how many, can break. It proves that the darkest moments can lead to the brightest purpose. It proves that transformation is not reserved for the perfect, but for the willing. Mary Magdalene was once shattered by torment. She became a pillar of faith. She was once avoided by crowds. She became a leader among believers. She was once imprisoned by darkness. She became the first witness of eternal light. And her story whispers to your heart today, transformation is possible. If you stayed until this moment, it's not by accident. Something in Mary's journey is speaking to you, inviting you to rise, to believe again, to hope again, to step into the life God has prepared for you. The same Jesus who called her name calls yours. The same power that set her free is still alive. And now, here is your invitation. Share in the comments what part of Mary's story touched your heart. Leave a like to help this message reach more people who need hope. And click the link on the screen to subscribe to the channel and continue watching more extraordinary biblical stories that inspire, awaken, and transform. This is not just the end of the video. This is the beginning of your own transformation.